Alquizar from Marketing 3-2, and for this video, I would like to discuss about the introduction of gender socialization. Okay, first, when we say gender socialization, it is a process of teaching individuals how to behave according to gender roles. Like for example, girls are talkative, fearful, dependent, sexy, shy, and soft-hearted, while boys are logical, daring, active, tough, strong, or sometimes rude. And those are the example of gender stereotypes or the socially constructed ideas of what it means to be a man and a woman. And now, we're going to differentiate the gender identity and sexual orientation. When we say gender identity, it is what we call ourselves. It refers to one's view of oneself as male, female, or trans. And it does not always correspond with the biological sex, while when we say sexual orientation, it is whom we find attraction. It refers to social object choice or one's preference for a sexual partner. I know you're all familiar with the LGBT community, which stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, and queer. Are you familiar with the word opposite sex? Most of us use this phrase when describing the categories of male and female. Others are using the fairer sex or the second sex to describe a woman. But did you know that in 17th century, Europeans didn't believe in opposite sexes? They didn't believe that there are two sexes because they believe that men and women are the better and worse version of the same sex. Okay, as you can see, this image shows that for them, vagina is simply as penis that hasn't emerged from the body. The womb as the scrotum in the belly, and the ovaries are the internal testes. As the lyrics to one early song put it like, women are but men turn outside in. Of course, 17th century anatomists are wrong because we're not the same sex. Otherwise, opposite is the word we use to have a strong implication that whatever one sex is or what others simply is not. Most of the people in Western countries are familiar with this idea, and it also referred to in sociology as the gender binary. So, what is gender binary? What does it mean? Now let's talk about gender non-binary. Those are the people who do not identify with any gender, because some people's gender changes over time. And those people whose gender is not male or female uses many different terms to describe themselves. And with non-binary being one of the most common, other terms include genderqueer, agender, bigender, and many more. When we say gender binary, it is the classification of gender into two districts. It is the opposite form of masculine and the feminine. Whether by social system, culture, belief, or both simultaneously, most culture uses a gender binary by having two genders. So the term gender binary refers to the idea that there are two types of people, which are the male-bodied people who are masculine and the female-bodied people who are feminine. Just remember that gender binary doesn't just allow for only two sexes. It also makes the much stronger claims that we are opposite sexes. And the idea of opposite next makes blurring the boundaries between masculinity and femininity clear, and encourage men and women to maximize the apparent differences in their gender, making the gender binary appear more real than it is. Okay, guys, this is so necessary. Why? Because male and female bodies are not in a biological binary at all. They are far more alike than different. Okay, so here's an example. let's talk about height. When we say height, we all know that the average man is 5.5 inches taller than the average woman. So are we saying that men are much taller than women? Well, not really. Because we're talking about the range of the height. So therefore, there's a lot of women who's actually taller than men. And this is not a binary difference. It is an average of difference and a measure of tendency that is not absolute. Okay, so gender ideologies is concerned with describing and explaining the cross-cultural similarities and differences in human views on men and women and other alternative gender identities. Okay, so here's an example of gender ideologies. The gender binary in 17th century anatomist is actually a ideology. Why? Because it is a set of ideas widely shared by the member of society that guides identity, behavior, and instructions. Now, let's proceed to social construction of gender. In the process of socially constructing the world, we mostly layered object, characteristic, behavior, activities, and ideas with notions of masculinity and femininity. Sociologists use gender as a verb when talking about the process by which something becomes coded as masculinity and femininity. So we will say that something is gendered, or that we gender, or we are gendering things. We almost gender about everything. Ask yourself, stereotypically, is a sport fun? Who do you think to play rugby, soccer, and how much opportunity do women have to play American football? Men are allowed to figure skate, but are male figure skater masculine? Are women basketball player feminine? Who cheer for warmth? Who is more likely to drink a Diet Coke, Coke Zero, or Monster energy drink? Or at the dinner, who do you think or who do you expect to make food? Who is more likely to order a steak, or who do you think will become a vegetarian? Okay, here's another example. At the bar. Let's say we're at the bar. Who is more likely to order a beer? Who is more likely to order a cosmopolitan, a whiskey, a wine? Who do you expect to dance or just sit down and watch the other people partying? It simply means that gender binary causes us to falsely disconnected masculine ideas from feminine ones and making it harder to form connections between these ideas. Okay, our next topic is the binary and everything else. It says here that gender is a social construct, an arbitrary but influential shared interpretations of reality. The social construct are the consequences of social construction, and it is a process which we ideally layered objects with ideas, fold concepts into one another, and build connection between them. Like for example, we have the word hippo. This word doesn't look or sound anything like the actual hippopotamus, but the English speakers agree with this. So it simply means that language is just an elaborate series of social construct. There is also what we call gender binary glasses, a pair of lenses that separates everything we see into masculine and feminine categories. We acquired these prescriptions as we learned the ways of our culture. Alright, before I end this video, I would like to share the things that I learned and realized about this report. Most of us are too focused on the ideal characteristic of a person. Like for example, a woman must be gentle because that is one of the gender stereotype of being a woman. And the man must be strong and invincible most of the time because that is one of the gender stereotype of being a man. But we all have a different characteristic and way to express ourselves. And some of it are in line with the ideal structure of society on being a man and a woman. And some of these characteristics are in line with what we really are in the way we want to represent ourselves. Yes, society has a standard. Everything and everybody has a standard of acceptance. But guys, what's more important is you accept yourself and you are proud of yourself and you are good and happy on whatever you wanted to be. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks for listening.